Hey guys, Rhett here. What's going on? Thanks for watching. I have a absolute treat, and I'm honored to have this gentleman on the show today. I want to introduce you to an extremely successful coaching client. This is Joe, guys. Joe is very, very special. He's a special human being, and we're going to get into how Joe has been successful and what's worked for him and what he's learned and trials and tribulations. Joe, first of all, thank you so much for coming on the channel today.
Hey, I appreciate being here, Red. I really, really do. It's awesome.
Yeah, and guys, I wanted to bring Joe on the channel because he's one of the most inspirational people that I've ever worked with. And I think that the way that he approaches real estate investing is so incredibly important because he really symbolizes the things we talk about on this program. He wants to make sure that other people are taken care of. He wants to make decisions based on the well-being of other people. And because of that, it rewards him fiscally. Now, we're going to get into Joe's success and how long he's been in the program and this and that. But I just wanted to kind of introduce Joe that way. Joe, you joined the program, the coaching program, on July 18th. We closed on our first Section 8 property August 23rd. Wow. So it was a total, whirlwind. And you blink again, now you have 3 properties and you're doing fantastic. So why don't you just talk a little bit about the background to your journey, how long it took you to get started in this, and what some big things that you've learned so far have been.
Okay. So back in pre-2008, so first of all, I live in Huntsville. And so here we had this real estate meetup group. And back then flipping was, man, that's what everybody did. And so I wanted to flip as well, right? But the issue I had was I could not build a team. And that was very difficult. You know, some folks were married to real estate agents and all that, and they had a built-in team that they were able to reach out and find contractors. I struggled with that. And so oh, by the way, they had Section 8 landlords part of this meetup as well. And those guys, they all they did was talk down to Section 8. So I for sure, Section 8 was blocked out of my mind. So finally, I finally gave up, right? I said, this is not working. I can't find a good team. And 2008, the crash happened. So it's done for me. I basically gave up on doing anything in real estate. So fast forward to 2022. And I'm thinking my career is great. I'm not one of those guys that hate my job, but I would like to retire pretty soon, Red. I've been working a long time. Just so you know, I have kids older than you, Red, just so you know. And so anyway, I started looking on YouTube. I was trying to find things to reduce my taxes, right? And that's what I went to YouTube looking for. And I saw nothing that made any real sense. And I happened to come across your video, your channel. And I saw Section 8. I was like, ew, I'm not doing that, right? But something you said just got me hooked. So I started binging Red Wiseman videos. And I must have looked at if I had free time, I was watching the Section 8 guy. And you said some things that made sense to me, right? I mean, you made the face of folks that are in Section 8 humans, right? You wanted to treat them with respect, and which to be honest with you, it aligned with my thinking, my thoughts. And so so I thought I'd just give it a shot, right? Give it a shot. And you're right. I think I started watching your videos, I want to say like 9 or 8 July. And a week or so after that, I was a client. You had sold me. Now, I will admit there were some things I had to learn, right? Some of I had to kind of buy into your philosophy of how you do things the right way, so to speak, right? You know, my mind had to say, you know, who would take down a perfectly good working fan, right? Those types of things I had to personally buy into, and it had to make sense to me, right? But in the end, you're trying to do what's right. You're trying to do what's best for the tenant. And just so you know, I have a friend here in Huntsville. He does Section 8. And I told him that little tidbit about taking down the fan. And he thought that was the greatest thing, greatest idea he ever heard. He wished he had done it because he had some complaints from his tenants. And part of that, I believe, is not doing the things right up front. And so, just so you know, when I told him that, my credibility with him just went through the roof. He just thought I was the greatest. He thought I was some sort of guru, right? It was awesome. So,
well, you are becoming one. And Joe, what I mean by that is, in such a short amount of time, you have done 3 totally different things. And what I mean by that is, the first house you bought with financing, and you bought it vacant, right? We didn't put a lot of rehab into that. I have everything here in front of me. The first house you bought for $58,500. Okay.
Correct.
You put $3,500 in rehab into it. And we put a Section 8 tenant in there paying a guaranteed 100% $750 a month, right? You used financing to purchase that.
I did.
On the second home you bought, which was just a mere month and a half later, you bought a house in cash for $65,000. You put $25,000 into it. That house, we're going to end up getting probably close to $1,300 a month for, right?
Wow.
And then the last house you just bought is already cash flowing, 100% Section 8, and that's bringing in $825 a month. So in an incredibly short amount of time, we've only been working together for about 5.5 months.
Yeah.
You've added 3 properties, and you've added them in 3 different ways. Joe, what have been some of the biggest takeaways that you've learned? What ways have you liked the best? You've done small rehabs, you've bought occupied properties, you've done big rehabs. What are some of the biggest things that you've learned in such a short amount of time?
Wow, that's a good question, Red. So what I wanted, that does sound great. So here's the deal. So I wanted to learn. When I first got into the program, I wanted to just run down the road, and I realized you had to slow me down a little bit, right? And so, so then I thought I wanted to kind of do a different project every time. The 2-bedroom was the first one. The second one was a 3-bedroom rehab, and this was the last one, which I closed on this past Friday, was a tenant occupied one. So what I realized, even though I've been around a long time, I really don't have a lot of experience in this market, in this space. And I wanted to kind of slowly go through and kind of really kind of see which one makes the most sense, right? Does it make more sense to do rehabs? Does it make more sense to do tenant occupied ones, or maybe it just makes sense to do it all? I don't know, right? I'm still learning. I'm still going through the process, going through the steps to see what really makes the most sense in the end. But part of that, in my opinion, what I've learned the most is you got to trust the process. I kind of first, like I told you earlier, I looked at all your videos, and oh, by the way, if you did a search on Red Wiseman scams, there's nothing out there. So my credibility for you is through the roof. And so I trusted that you was going to do the right thing. The folks that you have in place, right, that you plug, when I came on board, you just plugged me into your system. And those guys are awesome, right? Those guys they're the ones that make the engine go, right? I'm just, to be honest with you, anyone can come in. Of course, the intangible, I got to say, the intangible, and folks don't talk about this too much. I do think me as an investor, I need to make sure I am credit worthy. In other words, I got to make sure I do my part, right? I got to make sure I actually have money available.
Right.
I got to make sure that my credit score can get me a loan, right? So I got to make sure I do my part as well, right? So I think those are some of the things that that's not talked about too much, but you need to make sure that you can carry your weight, so to speak, right? But you've already done a lot of homework yourself with the team that's already in place, and they're a great team.
Well, and Joy, I appreciate that, but I don't want you to take any credit away from yourself. And what I mean by that is, and you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording this for everybody watching. And one of the things that I was talking about, and guys, what separates Joe and what you need to be a good real estate investor is you have to have that do it. And it's a combination of saying, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to have the guts to do this because this is what I want to do. And Joe, you mentioned earlier at the beginning, you've been interested in doing this and in getting into real estate since prior to 2008. I mean,
Yeah.
in 15 years, right? And then all of a sudden you say, you know what? And I remember the first time you and I talked, you were like, you know what, Rhett, I got to do it. I just have to do this. Right. And then I was like, okay, I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. Right, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 3 properties. You start off the new year. We're going to have 3 cash flowing properties. For you're going to be grossing here about $3,000 a month in just 5 months of us working together. Think about how much more we're going to add over the next year or 2 years. You are going to be able to do what you want to do, Joe, and that's not have to work anymore. But you understand that there's a lot of work that goes into that.
True, right. So first of all, you got to find a rental property, which does take some time, right? You got to go in there and look for properties that make sense, find properties that are in good, decent neighborhoods. So here's my forcing function, Red. I'll be 60 this week, okay?
Wow. Happy birthday.
And thank you, sir. And here's my problem. I can retire and go work somewhere else. I really don't want to do that. So before I retire, if I can get enough properties now, when I don't need the money, stack these properties up, get them cash flowing, get some money. So that's kind of my thought, right? So that's why I am fired up, and I feel like part of the issue has been me, right? When you get an opportunity to jump out there and do something, you got to take advantage of it. I tried then, it just did not work. And I saw your channel. I said, man, this could be it. This could be my opportunity. I don't know. I will admit, I'm an engineer, and sometimes we analyze things too much. And so I decided you're right. So what I did was I found something. I said, boom, I sent it to you guys. What do you think? I didn't want to waste a lot of time overthinking it, right? And so to me, that was key. Don't overthink it. Find something that looks good, send it out to you guys. And you guys, if it's a bad deal, you say this is bad. You tell me right off the bat, don't pursue that, right? So that's kind of it's been my little safety net, so to speak, So you're right. The first step is to jump out there and do it. And sometimes you got to close your eyes and just jump. And that's what I did.
You did it. And now look at how you've been rewarded for it, and it does help too, Joe, when you have a team surrounding you that isn't going to let you fall, and I don't think I talk about that enough, but we're not going to let you ever fail. Like you said, right. If you want to buy a property and it's not going to work, or it needs too much work, or it's going to be a piece of junk, right? Well, we're not going to have you buy it. And that's why there are so many things built into this process to make sure that doesn't happen. Right. But at the end of the day, like you said, you do need to close your eyes. You do need to jump. You do have to do that trust fall where you say, okay, right now I'm X years old, and I need to plan for my next 10 years. And I talk about this a lot, Joe, but we are in an age where instant gratification, instant money, instant this, I want to be rich tomorrow. And the number one way to build wealth in this country is through real estate. And you have to put your time in, right?
True.
You think about these properties that you have. Every single property that you have purchased is appreciating already. I mean, you look at the first property you bought in August. You bought that for 58 grand. That house right now, we could sell, you put 35 into it. So all into it, you're all into it for 62 grand, 62,000. You could turn around and sell that right now for 85, 90, right? You look at the house that you bought for 65 that we put 25,000 into, you're into that for 90,000. We're going to put a tenant in there at 1,200, 1,300 a month. That property is going to be worth 110, 120. And this other property you just purchased, it's cash flowing for 825 a month. We're going to file for a rental increase, bring that up to top of market or close to it. And that's 100% Section 8. So in such a short amount of time, we've been thinking, hey, we're going to make this a marathon. We're not going to try and get rich quick. But because our mindset has been long-term, in the short term, you've added a ton of properties, a very significant amount of money every month, and 3 properties that have already appreciated for you. So, really that is the fruits of your labor, and we're only just getting started.
Just getting started. That's true. So, right. So I am in it for the long game, right? So like I told you, I have 2 kids. At some point, I would like to maybe pass it down to them, right? But first things first, let's take care of me first, right?
Right.
And so get some cash flow going, and then make it that will make retirement a lot smoother for me, right? Because what I don't want to do, who wants to retire and reduce their lifestyle, right? And so that's kind of my mindset right now, right? And so that's why I'm so motivated. That's why I'm really fired up, and I can't wait to get the next deal.
And Joe, I want to talk about something that I know you wouldn't talk about, so I'm going to bring it up. But you'll always hold a very special place with me because a property that you just purchased, there are 2 handicap tenants in the unit, a 13-year-old girl and a mother who's in her mid-30s. And you are taking that entire unit and you are making that entire unit fully handicapped. So you're going in there, you're putting bars on the walls to help with mobility and balance, going in there, putting in a handicap shower, going in there, widening all the door frames, adding ramps, adding smoother transition strips, getting higher toilets, creating a situation for other human beings. And it's not for free, right?
It's not for free. That's true.
You're paying for that.
Right.
You don't have to do that, but you understand that by doing right by other people, it's going to come back on you tenfold.
Right.
And from a financial situation, because of course we're running a business as well, you also understand that by doing this, you're going to create an environment for the people living in that home where they're never going to have to leave. They're never going to outgrow the unit. It's never going to get so hard for them to move around where they're going to say, we have to find a handicapped unit. So you're putting your hard-earned money into something and helping somebody else, which is just, it's incredible. I don't think, Joe, there's another avenue that you can go down in business or life where you can be that thoughtful, buy property, take care of other humans, and at the same time, the government is paying you to do it.
Right.
The government is guaranteeing you money for it. The property itself is appreciating, and you'll never have to worry about tenant turnover. And eventually, when that property appreciates, you can use that property as its own bank, pull money out of it, and buy other things. And all the while, you're making someone's life exponentially easier and exponentially better.
Right. So thanks. That's true, Brett. So one of the things I think about a lot is that, I may complain about my life sometimes, Red, but I really have a pretty good life, right? My career is pretty good, and sometimes I don't think enough about other folks. And I said, oh my goodness, these folks need they need help. So sometimes you got to put, I don't want to sound cliche, but put other folks before you, right? And so I thought it was a great opportunity to make an impact in somebody else's life, and I really thought it was a good bet, so to speak, right? I think it's gonna be when I look down the road, I'll be I think it'll be a great deal for them. I think you're right; they'll be there long term, and so I thought in the end, but you got to pay the price now, right? So it kind of goes back to what you're saying, doing the right thing up front. And I think folks appreciate that, right? When you treat folks like human beings, just in the end, it'll work out for you, I think.
Yeah,
So I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, and you really are. You are the model of everything that we talk about on this channel, from just getting in and going to do it. Your ability to say, okay, this is the process that works. I'm going to buy into it. Because a lot of times too, Joe, people watch YouTube videos for years and years and years. They watch TikTok, they watch Instagram, and they say, nope, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And then, you come to me and I say, that's not how you do it, right? That's not it at all. That's all flash, and that's all just BS. It's not real.
Yeah. Right.
And then you say, okay, let's do it. You buy in, you have a buy-in to how we do things. You have a team that's with you, that is holding your hand along with myself every step of the way. And you blink, really, and you have 3 properties. And they're all great. Joe, one of my favorite things to ask clients when they come on is and it's the funniest, of course. Now, you live in Huntsville, you're investing in Birmingham, so you only live about an hour and a half north of Birmingham. How many times have you been to these properties?
All right. So I did go to the first one because I'm just a nostalgic kind of guy, right? I want to see the first one and go down and go through the process and all that. But after that, that was it. That was it. So the last 2, I did not go down. And maybe I may come back at some point, but it's certainly on the first one for sure. Just because I'm that kind of guy, right? I just want to see it, feel the process.
Right. Yeah, and why do you feel like you don't have to go to these next 2? So you went to the first one, right? And of course, a lot of questions. What's going on? Is this really what I think it is? Right? Is this house looks like the pictures?
Right.
A little bit.
Right. So so part of that's true. You got a trusted team that's in place, right? And I did trust the team. I have there's no doubt in my mind the team is scamming me, so to speak. But I think to me, I did watch the videos. I think when you, like, for example, when you even on the first one, the little rehab that we did do, I was like, hey, can we just leave the fans up? You said, no, let's do the right thing, right? Because I still could slowly buy into the process, right? So, so for the most part, you got to buy into it, because to me, to do it the way that you prefer. In other words, like put new appliances in there, right? The carpet, all the stuff that goes into doing a rehab and doing it the right way, and making sure that it makes sense. So I bought into the whole deal.
Yeah, and you say that about the rehab, Joe, and you've done so far. You've done a $6,000 rehab, a $25,000 rehab, and a $3,500 rehab.
Right.
You've bought houses at 79.9, 65, and 58.5. So you have yet to buy a house over $80,000, which in 2020, some people would say that's no chance.
Right.
You've bought a property that is a 2-bedroom. You've bought a 3, and you've bought 2 3-bedrooms. You've used financing, cash, and you've bought vacant and occupied. You've done 10 years worth of real estate in 5 months.
Right, right.
Right? What do you think has been your favorite investment strategy so far as how you buy it, whether it's vacant, whether it's occupied, cash, financing, large rehab, small rehab? What has been your experience?
Wow. So I think, and I didn't think I would say this, I think I like the second one I purchased for 65 and doing the rehab on. So that's where I used so let me just give you an additional backdrop. So as I told you, I'm almost 60. And so at 59 and a half, you can reach out and get some of your retirement funds, right? As a potential option.
With no penalty.
So that's what I did.
With no penalty.
With no penalty.
Yeah.
Which is key, right? With no penalty. So I said, oh my goodness. So that's what I did. I reached out, grabbed some money from my savings account, from my retirement account, and that was awesome. And oh my goodness, that's gonna fast forward my ability to purchase more property. Now, so I did like, because so to me, using cash, because cash is not charging you interest,
right?
Right. So on that property, I use cash. And because you need to wait this so-called seasoning 6 months to get it back out.
Period. Yep.
Yeah. So to me, that's a great option to use cash, because it's not taxing you, so to speak.
Right.
Now on the third property, the one I just closed on, I used a HELOC. Now, because it was almost no rehab, I can use the HELOC money, cash, and then do a direct refinance within, pretty quickly, right? Versus the cash deal. So that's why I like the cash option. And I think the cash option allows me more flexibility, right? And so I think overall I do prefer that the most. Now, same token, I can use the HELOC for the same type of purpose, but personally, I would much rather use the HELOC for properties, for like maybe like tenant occupied properties, or something that doesn't require a lot of rehab. Because that's kind of my general thought right now on how I would use the HELOC versus the cash. Because then you just take that cash out and guess what, Red? Buy another property, right? So that's kind of the thought, right? So that's kind of my thinking right now, right? You use the HELOC for certain types of properties, and then the cash for different type of property, particularly when you got to wait that 6 month seasoning timeline.
Right. And Joe, you've also made some great buys when you think about it, right? You bought a 2-bedroom house on a fantastic street and paid under $60,000 for it. How many houses out there right now can you find for $58,000 that need under $4,000 in rehab?
It's getting pretty tough, Rhett. Getting pretty tough. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So unbelievable find there. And people ask me all the time, they say, Rhett, they see videos and they go, where are these? But they pop up. They there. Pop up. You gotta see them, right? And they pop up, and you got to be ready to nail them. Then the second property, the one you're talking about that you bought with cash,
right?
We put a brand new roof on that, and the roofing team was over there at I think 4:30 in the morning, and they were done by noon, about 2 p.m. Put a brand new 30-year roof on that. And what I love about that property is it's right next to a super, super nice school.
Right.
And that property is going to appreciate so fantastically. When you think about it, it's been a vacant, dilapidated house next to a school in a school zone. You can't even drive more than 10 miles an hour on the street.
Right.
And if you have kids in that home, which hopefully we'll put somebody in there that has children, right. I mean, you can watch your kids walk right out the front door, right into the front door of school.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such an incredible investment. And what we're doing to it, right? We're doing a lot of cosmetic work in there, put a brand new roof on it. We're not going to have to worry about that house for a very long time. As far as that area goes, there's a beautiful school. There's cameras on the streets. You can't speed. There's speed traps. It's a fantastic buy. And Joe, You bought it for 65 grand.
I was excited about that one, Brad.
You
Oh
know,
my goodness.
that was such a great home. And that one will be on the market this week. And that'll go so quick. I mean, who doesn't want to live in a beautiful, huge 3-bedroom house on top of a school, basically on school grounds?
Right.
And then, of course, the third unit that you just closed on, that's a property where you're going to have a tenant in there for ever. As long as you want to keep that tenant in there, you're going to have that tenant in there forever. And when I say that you've done enough real estate in a couple months to really kind of experience wise has been similar to somebody who's been investing for years and years and years.
Right.
Think about how many different things you've done so far. I mean, how many people do you know, Joe, that are in your inner circle, or even your not even your inner circle, but a couple circles outside of that have 3 rental properties?
Very few, very few.
Right.
I will say that there's one variation I would love to do is I've seen on the channel where you take like a house and add a bedroom to it, right? That's my next thought. I really would like to get one of those, Red, if I can find one, right? Big, where it's big enough where you can convert a 3 into a 4. Wouldn't mind doing that just to kind of go through the process. And but you're right, there's not many folks I know other than the friend I talked about that does Section 8 rentals. Not many folks. In fact, I'm trying to get my daughter and her husband to get into the real estate game. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Joe, you've learned so much, right, in such a short amount of time, to where you could help other people do this. I mean, you start talking about real estate, and someone goes, "Oh, what does he watch YouTube videos?" Right.
Right.
Well, actually, I gross almost 4,000 a month, and all my money's guaranteed. I have 3 units. I think I know what I'm talking about. And then people go, "Holy crap!" What you're talking about.
Yeah, right. You're right. So there's nothing like going through the process yourself, right? And you can watch videos, and that's cool. That gives you a basic foundation, understand. But going through the process yourself, there's nothing like it. I tell you what, there's nothing like the tingles I get when I submit an offer, just waiting for the offer to return. Oh my goodness, that's probably the most anxiety I ever have, is waiting for that offer to come back. Other than that, the process itself is just phenomenal.
Well, if that's the most anxiety that you have, then we're at a great spot. We really are. And guys, I know you're watching this, and there are so many of you out there right now that I know are hearing Joe's story and saying, "That's me. I've wanted to do this for a long time, and I just have to do it. I just have to do it." Listen to this story, guys. It's extremely, extremely possible. Joe had his first house purchased, not even under contract, purchased 35 days after we got started. And now he has 3 units up and running with so much potential to add more, and the foundation to add more. So guys, drop your comments to Joe. Please drop them below. I'm going to put in the video, I already have, but go back and check them out. I'm going to have pictures of Joe's houses come up. So check those out. And guys, please, any questions you have for Joe or myself, Joe finds himself in the comments. I'm sure he'll get back to you, and we look forward to seeing you next time. So Joe, thank you so much for coming on here and inspiring some other people that might have the same goals that you do.
Good deal, Brett. Have a great year, sir. I can't wait to get into it.
Can't wait to work with you and keep adding these. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.